Starting the event.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Toronto, Canada. Welcome to our second live session today. My name is Nicholas Reyes, Project Manager for Special Programs and Events. Great to have you for our info workshops. Lots of information from our immigration and co-op today. But before that, just want some quick reminders that all our WhatsApp groups are open until end of the month, and all our live sessions are recorded and will be posted in Moodle in the next few days. So please make sure to also attend our last sessions tomorrow. We have two more at 9 a.m. with academic integrity, student success, and we have some fun games for tomorrow planned. And at 11 a.m. we also have the APA workshop. And just a reminder that late registration is still ongoing until January 7th at 4 p.m. So first up, we have co-op. We have Meg Desmond as one of the representatives to do the presentation today. Meg?
All right, thank you so much, Nicholas, and welcome to all you students. So as Nicholas said, my name is Meg Desmond. I'm actually the Academic Quality Coordinator here at the college, but I will be presenting today on behalf of co-op, and I'm going to pass on some contact information for our co-op and career advisors. If you do have any questions, I ask that you please reach out to them rather than to me, as they are truly the experts in the field. So let's get started and let's meet the co-op team. So we have a lot of wonderful co-op and career advisors here at Lambton College in Toronto. We have Brian Messias, who is the manager of co-op and career. He will be handling CCBT and SCMT, and you can see his email there on the screen. And what I'll say as we're going through these is note down the email address of the co-op and career advisor that accords with your program, and just have it on hand so that you can reach out to them if need be. We also have Pamela Chan as a co-op and career advisor. She will be doing MADT, MMDT, MMPT, PMIT, and PMLT. So lots of programs there. Pamela is doing some heavy work, and her email is below. We also have Peter Tells Langton. He is doing BMHT, CSAT, and FPWT. His email is there below. And then we have Sandra Ornelas, who is doing AIMT, OHST, QEMT, and her email is there below. We have Diana McLennan doing BMAT, CPCT, CPMT, and her email is listed. And then also, if you have any general inquiries, or maybe you missed this presentation today, or you have a friend that did, and you just want to broadly reach out to the team, you can go to career@cestercollege.com. One of the advisors will reach out to you and will help you. The co-op and career team is also doing some video chat and career question hours. So Mondays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. it'll be Diana on there. Tuesdays from 9 to 10 it'll be Brian. Wednesdays 3 to 5 is Sandra. Thursdays from 1 to 3 is Peter, and Fridays from 3 to 5 is Diana again. When you contact, please make sure to state your name, your student number, and your program. That will just help the co-op and career advisor find you a little quicker and be more easily able to assist you with your needs. So let's talk a little bit more about the career services that are offered at our college. So we do have one-on-one appointments. Again, I just listed some of those video chat hours. We do resume critiquing. We do cover letter critiquing, job search assistance, online presence feedback, interview prep, and mock interviews. And these are so many great resources, especially, you know, a lot of you, I know you come here and not only do you want to have a great experience at the college, but you're hoping to gain some Canadian work experience that you can put towards getting your PR. So these are super valuable resources, and we definitely recommend that you make the most use of them while you're here at the college. Let's talk more about the role of the advisors. So what are these wonderful people here to do? Our advisors provide career and employment development services and resources for co-op students. And these resources include assistance with resumes, cover letters, and other job search documents, assistance with interview techniques for work term recruitment, like maybe they'll even do a little role play with interviewing for you. They do assessment of the suitability of work term employment opportunities. So they'll look at you, they'll look at your background, they'll look at your academic record and try to help decide what opportunities are going to be right for you. And then they also monitor your co-op term. So you won't be alone in the co-op, just out in the workforce, having nobody to ask questions to or report back to. They're going to be with you the whole way, helping make sure that it's a successful experience for you. They also offer ongoing development and delivery of the CPP 1001 co-op preparation course. And this is mandatory for all co-op students. So all students who have a co-op term coming up as part of their program have to take the CPP 1001 course. And what the name suggests, as you can probably tell, is that this course is really going to give you the skills that you need so that when you go into your co-op term, you feel completely ready to just do an awesome job with it, because you'll already know what the expectations are. You'll already know what some of the Canadian workplace practices that are going to be expected of you are. They also conduct classroom visits for Term 1 and Term 3 co-op students. So a lot of you are going to be entering Term 1. You're probably really soon going to have a co-op advisor visit your class to talk to you about some of these opportunities and tell you a little more about the co-op department. They also offer career services. So this could be marketing materials, it could be job searches. You can check these out. I know there's a whole plethora of resources for you out there. And then of course they offer one-on-one appointments, which can be booked online through MyCareer. So what should you expect when you're going into your co-op work term? You will have credit requirements, so you have to have the completion of a co-op contract that states the start and the end date. And of course, if you're going into your co-op term and you have more questions about these things, your advisor is going to be the best resource for leading you through this. Nobody's going to hang you out to dry or lead you astray. We're going to make sure that you are going into your co-op term knowing what you need to do and having all these resources. So you also have to have completion of hours for a 4-month co-op. The minimum required is 420 hours. So keep that in mind, 420 hours, that's the minimum. We also ask for 30 to 40 hours a week, no more and no less. So if you're going over 40, too much work. If you're under 30, it's just not meeting that minimum requirement. We also want you to have completion of online modules. So there's a Moodle course that you'll do, and submission of required paperwork at the end of your term. So this is super important in order for your co-op to go through and to count towards your credit requirements. You will need to submit the paperwork. So please don't forget that very important step at the end. Let's talk a little bit about your mylambton.ca email. I know a lot of you probably have a personal email address that you're using as well as your mylambton.ca email. It's super important that you regularly check your mylambton.ca email address. This is how our advisors, and not just for co-op, I mean for student services, for your instructors, this is how we're going to communicate with students. So you should be checking your MyLambton email regularly. You've got to start becoming familiar with it and expect that your co-op and career advisor is going to send out co-op information to this email account. So keep checking it. You also should note that the co-op and career services or questions must come through your MyLambton email address. So if you're sending an email to co-op and career and you're using your personal email, chances are they're not going to know who it's from. Maybe it's not going to get read. It's going to show up in the junk folder. So if you have an inquiry, which is probably super important to you and to your future employment prospects, please use your MyLambton email when you're reaching out. Let's talk a little more in depth about CPP 1001. Now, I mentioned this a little earlier. CPP 1001 is that co-op preparation course, which is going to help you make the most out of your co-op later on. So again, all students in a co-op program are required to take CPP 1001. It's not something that you can opt out of or swap out for another credit. It is mandatory. It's also a graded course, so it will count towards your GPA. That's also important to note, right? Don't treat it like, who cares? This course isn't related to my program. It's just about co-op. You still want to get the maximum grade that you can. And this is also a really fun course. So hopefully it should be a course where you're excited to work towards getting a great grade. It will also cover important topics around co-op, co-op approvals, And we'll also talk about policies, CoOp search resources, which is super helpful as you go into that work term. Talk about marketing materials, so your resume and cover letter, right? That's personal marketing, as well as your online profile, so a LinkedIn, and interviewing techniques, super important when you get to that interview and you show up. You want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward to allow yourself to get hired. We'll also talk about networking events, marketing research or market research, and job search strategies. So, I mean, maybe you've had experience with this in the past where you're online and you're scouring job boards, but nothing's really panning out. And that could be because your job search strategies just need a little bit of tweaking in order to get you where you want in terms of yielding those best job results for you. Now, let's go into a bit more in depth on the MyCareer website. So you can access the MyCareer website at mycareer.lambtoncollege.ca/home. You should become familiar with this website. So I would even recommend maybe write down this web link and browse to it a little later on today. Just kind of poke around. Check out the resources on there, get familiar with the website. This is where you're going to book appointments with your advisors. It also houses part-time position postings under the career services. It's also where events are going to pop up, including job fairs. I know the CoOp team organizes a lot of wonderful job fairs that are going to help you get some great opportunities. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be under career services. And then also this is where your CoOp job postings are going to be for term 3 students. And this you're going to look under CoOp. So as you can probably tell from this slide, a lot of super important resources are on the MyCareer website. It's very important that you're checking this on a regular basis. So let's talk about logging in. So this is what the MyCareer is going to look like. There's this lovely picture here of our atrium at Lambton College in Toronto in the background. And you're, again, go to the website, you're going to enter your username, which is your student ID. So let's say in this example, your student ID is C0666666. You're going to enter that. Your password is going to be the same as it is on your My Lambton email, not the same as Moodle. So that's super important. Password is the same as your email, not your Moodle password. You're going to enter those two things, and that's going to get you logged into MyCareer. Now, when you log in, you're going to see a page that's a little similar to this. So you can see this toolbar here on the left side. It offers career services, overview, job postings, interviews, career events, and appointments. So all those tabs are going to lead you to these different places that you've talked about. So if you want to book an appointment with your career advisor, obviously you're going to click on appointments. If you want to check for new job postings, obviously you're going to check on job postings. So it's pretty self-explanatory once you're on the website. And like I said, it's super important that you're checking this as often as you can to stay up to date on the latest job information. Again, just highlighting some important tabs here that you can click on to check out. And you can also see through this example what your MyCareer will look like. So you can even check up on your CoOp, your co-curricular resources. You can upload documents, your resume, and it's just going to be the ultimate go-to spot for having all your career resources in one place. Now, lastly, let's just talk a little bit more about the MyCareer events. So we have employer showcases and expos. Again, a really great opportunity, not just to meet potential employers, but maybe also to get a sense of where your career is going to lead you down the road. You might meet a company or a rep from a company at this employer showcase that you'd never really thought of before, and it might actually prompt you to think and lead you in a new direction that might inspire you on your career. So super important, not just for work, but even just thinking about some future planning. We also have CoOp fairs. Those happen every term. And we do have external fairs too. These might look a little different than in the past because of COVID, but for example, in 2019, we had Texpo, and you can see some cool images here. Look how busy and bustling this is. And we do give you access to these events to help you search for the best job that's going to help you in your career going forward. All right, let's talk a little bit about the advertised versus the hidden job market. Now, most of the jobs that you're going to see when you're looking on LinkedIn or Indeed, it's like the tip of this iceberg here at the top, right? So these are the advertised jobs, but as you can see from all the iceberg below the water, there is so much of the job market that is never advertised on those job boards and job sites. It's the hidden job market. And you might be looking at this going, well, that's not fair. Like if I'm just browsing on Indeed or LinkedIn, I'm only going to get maybe about 1/8 of the jobs that are actually out there. So let's talk a little bit about how you can access the hidden job market and get some of these jobs that are below the surface. The best way to do this is going to be networking. So networking, what is that? It's meeting new people. It's making connections, right? So going to these job fairs and, stepping out of your comfort zone. If you're at a job fair, don't just walk around and check out the booths, but take a breath, kind of steady your nerves and go up to somebody, say hi. They're here to meet people and talk to people. And you never know, even if that person isn't the connection that leads to you getting a job, they might know somebody who knows somebody, and then you'll get a job through 3 degrees of separation. So the best thing to do is always to just reach out, talk to people. You also want to work on building and maintaining relationships. So beyond just that hi, the first connection, maybe, get somebody's email contact, reach out to them on LinkedIn, check in, just stay part of their circle. And you can always circle back if there's a company where you meet them at a job fair and maybe they don't have jobs at that moment. Reach out in another month or two and just say, hey, circling back, wanted to see if there's any opportunities at your company. Again, along the line of keeping relationships, you want to keep in contact and have an ongoing process. So just please know that if you're applying for jobs and nothing's panning out within the first week or even the first month, it doesn't mean that it's not going to happen to you. It just means that you have to trust the process a little bit, stay in contact with all these relationships and connections that you've built, and just accept the ongoing process of job applications and networking. You also should reciprocate the help where you can. And I know as a student, maybe this can be difficult sometimes. There could be opportunities at the college that you could point prospective employers to, like joining a job fair or serving on one of our program advisory committees. But in general, once you're more established in your career field, you're going to pay it forward. And maybe you will be the contact for a future student at Lambton College in Toronto to help them get a job. And just also be authentic, be real. One of the best things that can set you apart is to just be yourself. And this goes for your cover letter, your resume, and what you say to people when you're networking. A lot of people maybe think a cover letter has to be robotic and just stating your experience, but make it unique. Show why you care about this job field. What inspired you to get into it? What do you hope to do in the future? What do you like to do in your spare time that really drives and inspires you? People want to know these things, and ultimately, often when people get hired, it's not just because of their resume, it's because of the connection that somebody else feels with them. And the best way to make a genuine connection is just be yourself. So let's talk a little bit about what networking is not. It's not shaking as many hands as possible. So just playing that numbers game, going up and meeting people, because you're not making a genuine connection that way. It's not just going up to somebody and asking for a job. Don't just come up and say, hey, you hiring? Maybe ask them a few questions about their business and speak about your own interests and just have a little bit more of a dialogue about it rather than this transactional relationship. It's also not a scripted process. So the last thing you want to do is maybe type up something to say because you're nervous and you go up to every booth at a job fair and say, hi, my name is Meg. I'm looking for a job. That just doesn't feel very organic or natural, and also just makes you seem a little bit like you're asking them to do you a favor rather than, again, having this reciprocal relationship. It's also not going to be the same for every job seeker. So know your strengths. Maybe you're so good at networking and reaching out in person and you are just a skilled conversationalist. Then maybe your skill is to do more things in person. Maybe you're not so good on the talking side of things, but you have a stellar resume. You have this online portfolio that you've built that's just beautiful and really showcases your work. And maybe your process is going to be reaching out online through LinkedIn and finding ways to get your portfolio out there so that people can see your work. So again, just think about your own personality, know your skill set, and really go towards your strong suits. That's going to help you get the type of job that you want. And also know that networking is not an immediate process. So maybe some people are going to get lucky. You're going to go up to one person and the first person that you talk to is going to end up helping you get a job. But for many of us, that's not the process. So please know if it doesn't happen immediately, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And we have tons of resources for students at the college, as I've mentioned a few of them before. So on the topic of networking, we have the Young Professionals Network of Ontario. We have what's called the Hip House. We have meetup.com, and we are also a partner with 10,000 Coffees. And you can see a lot of the resource websites here if you want to learn more about these. But these are all services that are built to help you network. They actually pair you up with other individuals in the workforce to help you progress in your career. And they're all free resources. That's also important to know too. We also have job search resources. So we are on Indeed, Eluta, LinkedIn, and Talent Egg. And these are all resources also that you're going to go over in the CPP 1001 course and as you work with your co-op and career advisor. But please feel free, if you haven't already checked out some of these resources, maybe jot down the websites, take a look at them later just to make sure you're familiar with them. And then on the topic of local events, we partner with Eventbrite, so hosting lots of events, joining lots of events. We have the Canada Job Expo, and we have Peter's New Jobs. And again, all the websites for this are listed here in the right side. Please jot them down, check them out, and start thinking forward to your co-op term and your career. Let's talk a little bit about email etiquette. And this is something that's super important, especially with the 2 years now of COVID-19 and everything being so digitally focused. Super important that you're making a great first impression. And often the way that that first impression happens now is going to be digital. So with email, it's important to send professional emails as part of your job application. And this email is really, like I said, it's going to be the first impression that they have of you, even before they look at your resume, even before you come in and they see your face and they get to hear your voice and know more about you. It's going to be the email. So you want to make sure that you use spell check and Grammarly to perfect your spelling and grammar. Emails that have a lot of spelling errors just kind of come off a little bit like you don't care, even if that's not the case at all. It just looks like you maybe didn't take the time to read and edit it, which makes it seem like you probably don't want this job at all. Maybe you just whipped off an email and sent it to about 100 different people. The employer wants to see that you've really put in the work and that you care about this job. It also just makes you look polished and professional. I also think that thank you emails are a great practice when following up with employers. It ensures that you leave a positive, lasting impression. And this could be after you do an interview. You just send a quick email saying, hey, it was so great chatting with you today. Thank you very much for your time. You could say, hope to work with you in the future, but you could even just leave it there. Say, hey, thanks so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. It doesn't take much to leave that little positive impression. When emailing, also ensure that you're referring to the individual in the appropriate manner. Sir, madam, Mr., Mrs. When in doubt, it's always good to just use like Mr. or Mrs. and then their last name until they've told you to address them otherwise. I know if you came to the session yesterday, I talked about Canadian culture and talked about how often in Canada it's a little more informal. So if you're addressing me, I would want you to call me Meg, not Miss Desmond. That being said, it's a little different in the job process because you do want to respect the power of the person who you're applying to the job from, and you would want to address them more formally in that sense. And it's just considered respectful to address them in this way. Also, never send a blank email. Always include text in your email and briefly explain why you're contacting the person. So please don't just put maybe a subject line that says, please help looking for job, and then the actual body of the email is completely blank. You'll want to have a title that gives a sense of what you're saying in the body, but the main question and the main purpose of the email should happen in the body of the email. Let's talk about cover letters. So the purpose of the cover letter is to introduce yourself and to inspire employers to want to meet you. And this is also a chance to demonstrate your communication skills. So like I said about the emails, this is a great place where you want to make sure you're using spell check, you're using Grammarly, and you're just making the best possible impression. When we talk about inspiring employers to want to meet you, again, this is a case where just be yourself, show why you're unique. Talk about why you want to work in this field. Maybe you had this experience when you were a teenager that you thought you were on one path and then suddenly this event happened and it completely changed your outlook and made you want to pursue the field that you're pursuing now. Say that in the cover letter. People want to know why you're inspired, why you have a passion for the work, or maybe what sets you apart from other people. So what's an experience that you had in the past that might be very different from this field, but how could it contribute to this field and your potential job in it? Some more tips: no more than a page. These employers are super busy, and if they're taking the time to read your cover letter, you want to make sure that you're packing the most punch in the little amount of space possible. So don't make it 2 pages if the employer is looking at a cover letter and it's like your whole life biography. They might not read through it just because it's going to take a lot of their time. You also want to make sure that you include a letterhead with your name and your contact information at the top, not in the header. This is super important because a lot of the services now that sort through cover letters and resumes are actually digital. So it might not be a person that's having the first pass through of your cover letter. It might actually be an AI system. And if you put this information in the header, it might get skipped over. So have it at the top of the page, but have it in the main text. You also want to make sure that your cover letter is written in full sentences. So it's not like your resume where maybe you'll have some bullet points in there. You want to make sure that this is complete paragraphs. Almost picture it like you're writing a personal essay. That's the format that you're going to take when writing your cover letter. And you should tailor the document to each specific position and job description and company. So what you don't want to do is have a generic cover letter where basically you would just punch in, specific person, job, your name, and then that's it. You want to make it different so that the body of the cover letter, the text, right, the paragraphs, are reflecting the company, the specific position that you're applying for. And what you'll find as you're writing these cover letters is that with each position, it might give you a different chance to express a different part of yourself or a different skill that you have that would be relevant to the job. So no cover letter should look the same as the next one. Let's talk about the resume. The purpose of the resume is to highlight relevant education and experience. You should note that there is a difference between a CV and a resume. You'll go over this a lot more in the CPP 1001 course. So if you're hearing this now and you're like, what? I don't even know what a CV is, please don't panic. The information will become more clear to you as time goes on. So let's stick to the resume here. It's important to highlight any additional relevant qualifications and skills. So your cover letter is maybe the place where you're going to focus on some specific skills. The resume, you want to have general relevant qualifications. Tips for resume: 1 to 2 pages only. If you have a lot of work experience that is relevant, 2 pages is fine, but please don't go over that. Again, it's just the case where the employers are busy. They might not want to sift through like 4 or 5 pages of your resume. That includes when you worked at Burger King as a teenager, right? That might not be relevant. So make sure that it's 2 pages and that you have the most relevant qualifications on there. You also want to include a letterhead with your name and contact information at the top. Again, not in the header, and this is for the same reason as the cover letter. Often the first thing that's going to be passing through your resume is not going to be a person, might be technology, and the technology is set up so that it's maybe going to skip over what's in the header and focus on the key words of the resume, which is also going to come up later. You want to make sure that your resume is written in point form. So unlike the cover letter where you want to have some paragraphs, just bullet points, you want to make this as readable as possible. You also want to tailor the document to each specific position, job description, and company. So again, maybe for one company, a certain experience that you had at your past job is going to be the most relevant. At a different job, it could be a completely different experience that's the most relevant. So always think about what will tailor your resume the most to the job that you want to get. Please, again, emphasis here, don't use headers, footers, text boxes, fancy bullets, borders, extra lines across the page. I know the temptation might be, oh, I want to make my resume really pretty. I'm going to add these graphics and nice bullet points. Maybe instead of the typical bullet point, it's going to be a triangle because that looks so funky and it's going to set me apart. Even though maybe that would have been true 20 years ago, it's not going to be true today because, again, the first person that's looking at your resume isn't even a person. It's going to be a tech service. And these things just make it really hard to read and could just result in the tech going, can't read it, tossed out. Make your resume as readable as possible. You can show more of your flair and personality in the cover letter and when you get to the interview process, but please keep your resume readable and focus on keywords that the technology is going to zero in on to help put your resume in the good pile. An important tip. So think about the below question. Why should I hire you? And this can be a tough one, even as you're thinking about this to yourself. Your first thought might be, I don't really know, or, well, I took this course and I have skills that relate to the job, but think a little deeper. When you're communicating with employers, you want to focus on what the specific benefits are for them in hiring you. And this should go beyond your skill set or maybe your degree or diploma that you have, because think about it, there are multiple people that might have exactly the same experience, the same degree, the same credentials. So what is it specifically about you that sets you apart? What can you bring to this job that might be unique compared to the other candidates with similar qualifications? This should be a main focus when you're doing your cover letter and your resume. So please, even if you want to take a screenshot of this, keep this question in mind. Now let's think about, are you eligible for co-op? So we've just talked about all the advantages to doing this co-op term, but you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up to be eligible so that you're able to have this great experience. So you do want to read, understand, and follow the policies and procedures for co-op. You can access these at the website below. So go to MyCareer, Students, Policies, and Procedures. Take a little read through there. The co-op and career advisor that comes to your classroom is also going to go over these things. But I would suggest, why not check out the website, take a little read, make sure that you're aware of the process before the term even really gets underway. For co-op eligibility, you need to have a program cumulative grade point average of 2.8 or above. So this is super important. 2.8 grade point average or above is what's going to qualify you for co-op. You need to be enrolled in and have successfully completed all program courses before the co-op start date. This is, again, really important. If you have not completed the courses, unfortunately, you're not going to be eligible for co-op. You need to successfully complete CPP 1001, the co-op preparation course. Again, this is key because it's going to arm you with all the information that you need to have a successful co-op. And you also need to have paid all fees. So take note of these 4 steps. Make sure that you're thinking about them in term 1 and term 2, because you don't want to be that person that's getting close to term 3 and just starting to panic because you're like, oh crap, my co-op's coming up. I didn't do so well in term 1. I didn't do my CPP 1001, and now I'm scrambling because I really want to do a co-op. Make sure that you're thinking about these steps right from the get-go. This is the best time. You're new to the college. Get prepared and set yourself up already for greatness down the road. Your eligibility is going to be determined at the end of term 2. So again, start thinking about it now. You don't want to be caught scrambling at the end of term 2. And there is the possibility of taking makeup courses during the break. So again, we want you to be set up early. Start thinking about this now. Start working hard in term 1 to ensure that grade point average of 2.8, meet all the requirements, but there is also this possibility of makeup courses during the break. So all hope is not lost if something goes awry in the process, but please try to do your best to set yourself up right now for success at the end of term 2. Let's talk about the timeline for co-op preparation. So what do you need? In term 1, you're going to need your study permit. Term 2, also your study permit. So that's all you're going to need. How much can you work? For part-time work in term 1, we want to make sure that you're focusing on your studies. So we do ask, work must be only part-time. This is the same for term 2. And the employment is in your field or program related work. So this is also super important. What should you be doing? Again, part-time work. And you should maintain a minimum GPA of 2.8. This is in term 1. In term 2, little extra point added to what you should be doing. You should be doing the CPP 1001 co-op preparation course in addition to what you were doing in term 1, the part-time work and the minimum GPA of 2.8. What type of work can you do? There are no restrictions for term 1 and term 2. And it's important to note that studying is your priority. You ultimately, even if your part-time job is maybe fun or it's bringing you money, which is super important. I know you need money to live, but you do want to make sure that you're thinking about your future and you're prioritizing your studies at the college. So your work should not interfere with grades or assignments or coming to class for that matter. You don't want to get into the situation where you're like, well, you know, I have class at 7 p.m., but I can't come to class because I have to work at 7. Please make sure that you're prioritizing your class times and being in attendance. It's also never too early to think about co-op and career. So again, you guys are already ahead of the 8 ball. You're here at this presentation today. Now is the time. Start thinking about some of the stuff we've talked about today. Start checking out some of the resources. Start future planning, because I promise it's only going to help you going forward, and it's only going to make the process so much smoother. Now let's talk about during your break. So what do you need? Again, just the study permit. How much can you work? Part-time or full-time work. So full-time work is allowed during the break, again, because you're not in classes. So we want you to prioritize classes when you're in them. The break is your chance. If you want to work full-time, you can. What should you be doing? So you can be doing full-time work. You should also be networking. You should be doing some industry research, going to job fairs if you need to, maybe some makeup courses that are going to help you qualify for co-op, and maybe some volunteering. So these are all things that you can be thinking about during that break that are helping to set you up for co-op. What type of work can you do? There's no restrictions in your break. So term 1, term 2, there are some restrictions. Has to be part-time. Break, no restrictions. It's also recommended that the employment should be in your field or program related. Again, it's not necessary, but we do recommend it just because it's going to help you down the line. What's important? To work and finalize your co-op marketing materials. So that would be your resume and cover letter. Start considering future co-op opportunities. So again, you're forward thinking, maybe you're networking, you're trying to plan for that future opportunity. You should be meeting with your co-op advisor for assistance. And this is super important. Your co-op advisor is going to be the best point of contact for preparing you for a successful co-op and successful career down the line. You also should maybe have a list of companies prepared. So start thinking about some of the places that you want to work. And some of these can maybe be dream companies, but a lot of them should be realistic. So what have you seen on the job boards? Who have you met at job fairs? And what companies are those? Start making a list, compile it. And all of this work is going to set you up wonderfully for your term 3. So let's talk about your term 3. So again, study permit is all you need. You can work part-time, a little asterisk there. Please check out the CIC requirements here at the bottom if you're curious. So you should be doing part-time work, active job searching. This is when things are really gearing up. You should be meeting with your advisor regularly for co-op search and assistance. You can do no restrictions on the type of work. So you can do whatever type of work. And it's super important, again, you are meeting regularly with your co-op advisor. You're actively applying to positions through MyCareer and other resources. You're actively applying to all other opportunities. So companies that were prepared on that list that we talked about during your break. And you're actively networking and following up with employers. So again, this could be job fairs, this could be LinkedIn, this could be reaching out through some of those resources like 10,000 Coffees that we talked about. You're actively trying to work towards getting a job. Now, let's talk about what is probably the most exciting part for a lot of you, which is your term 4 co-op. So all this work that we just went through, all those requirements, those are setting you up for your term 4 co-op. So what do you need? You need your co-op work permit. How much can you work? Full-time. So this is 30 to 40 hours a week. Okay, so please don't go above or below that. That's just the guidelines for co-op. But within that 30 to 40 hours, it can be variable. Could be 32, could be 38, could be 40. What should you be doing? Full-time work in your field. So let's say you have a part-time job at Tim Hortons during terms 1 and 2. You don't want your co-op to be at Tim Hortons. It has to be a place in your field that's going to further your career going forward. What type of work can you do? It must be related to the program of study. So again, think about your program, think about the work that you want to be doing down the line, and picture this like your first job in that field. This is your entry point, and it's really going to set you up for your career later on. Super important. So think about these things. You must meet the CoOp eligibility requirements. So that's the stuff that we talked about before, right? Having that GPA of at least 2.8. doing your CPP 1001, completing all the courses. You must be approved by the CoOp advisor, and your CoOp must be approved by the CoOp advisor before you accept it. So please, again, you should be constantly in dialogue as you're going through this process with your CoOp and career advisor. You don't want to be in the situation where you find something on a job board, you accept, and then you never